episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry that I did not have a post-election show so that we could talk about the winners and the runner-ups. No, they're not losers, because whenever you run for office, you're always going to win one way or another. You may not come out on top in the election, but you won because you were able to share your story, listen to stories, and advocate for people that you care about. But the elections don't always turn out the way we want, but you ran. And I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of all the first-time candidates. I'm excited about our mature, seasoned candidates. Thank you, everybody that put your name on the ballot. But before we go in and we start talking about the winners and the runner-ups, I do want to talk about one thing that came out of State House last week, which TV reports. Teachers will be required to notify parents if a student wishes to change their pronoun under a bill Governor Eric Holcomb signed last Thursday. A teacher will have to notify at least one parent in writing within 5 business days if a student asks to be referred to by a different name, pronoun, or word. The measure drew intense protests from the LGBTQ plus rights advocates, who told lawmakers such a requirement would put transgender students at risk of being outed to potentially hostile parents. The measure was one of the final batch of 91 bills the governor signed on Thursday. Also earning the governor's signature was a bill containing a watered-down version of the state Senate's bill targeting materials in school libraries considered obscene. We talked about that before. The final version bans obscene materials or materials harmful to minors as defined in state law. In school libraries, require schools to set up a process for parents to request a book to be removed. Now, first things first, this year we saw over 21 different bills targeting the LGBTQ plus community. And honestly, I ask the question all the time, and I'm still not understanding what it is. What is it that why gay folks got y'all so flustered? Why trans people got you so messed up? Why y'all so messed up inside that you just can't leave these people alone? You have to actually go out and target these folks when you're writing policy. They're not bothering nobody. They're not bothering you. They just want to exist in their own space and do what they do the way they do it. But you don't like it. So you want to ban gender affirming care. You want to ban drag queen story hour. You just want to ban people like you can just all of a sudden erase them off of out of humanity. You can't. So stop trying. Stop trying. But that's why it's so important, guys, that you order some tickets now. Click on the Stonewall link. Get your tickets to our fundraiser on June 17th with Mayor Anise Parker, who is the president of Victory Institute and Victory Fund. Guys, we've got to start sending people to that State House who are going to help us. And one way to do that is to raise funds for candidates. I tell you all the time how you guys can get involved, right? One way to do that is to donate money. And we have got to, and where does the money go? All the money that we raise in Stonewall goes to our endorsed candidates, be they straight as allies or our LGBTQ plus candidates who are endorsed. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I sit on the board, and you guys know this already, I sit on the board of Trinity Haven. Trinity Haven is Indiana's only program for LGBTQ plus youth who are at risk of homelessness. I have to sit on this board because there are kids who are being thrown out of their homes because their parents no longer want to care for them because they are trans or LGBTQ plus. And so when a child comes out in school, they think that they're coming out into a safe environment. Not anymore in Indiana. And we only have so many beds available to us at Trinity Haven. And we only have so many host homes providers. Do we have enough to accommodate the new rash of young people who are going to be asked to leave their parents' home at 16, 17, 18 years old before they finish graduating? Y'all act like this don't happen. This happens. I sit on a board that helps take care of young people who have been displaced. But our state house passes legislation that doesn't improve the lives of these young people. It puts it in jeopardy. So, guys, we've got to do better on who we're electing. We got to send some better folks to that state house. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about that election. Most importantly, I want to talk about what happened in Marion County. I know there were races all over 92 counties, but guys, real talk, of all the races, of all the mayoral races, all of the city county council races, Indianapolis was the big boy. Mayor Hogsett was literally at the top of the ticket. And with all the votes counted, Mayor Joe Hogsett will face Jefferson Shreve in the November election for Indianapolis's next mayor. Representative Robin Shackelford called Mayor Hogsett around 8:45 p.m. to concede. I wanted to play a little bit of her concession, if that is all right. I felt like she ran a decent enough campaign. Let's just hear a little bit of her concession speech.
So, I just got off the phone with Mayor Hogsett, and I wished him well and congratulated him and conceded to the race. We both said that we want to make sure that the Democrat Party stays together, that we continue to work with each other. I will be meeting with him, and we will be talking about changes that we can make the party better and also to make the city better.
I love it. I love it. That's good stuff right there. That's good stuff.
I still see this as a win.
Yeah. Right.
The 36% that we got so far, that is affirmation that our city and people want change. When you say 36+% of us who voted for change, we are both saying, and everyone is saying, that we have to do something, for one, about this crime rate. We have to do something about the infrastructure and also affordable housing, and make sure our kids and family are safe. So it is still a mandate to me that change must happen.
All right. You know, I think I have to be totally honest with you guys. You know, I couldn't really come out and support anybody, and I'm still not going to tell y'all who I voted for. But I think that Robin Shackelford ran as good a campaign as possible. I mean, she was already kind of in a hole when you consider he was sitting on $4 million, and you know, she didn't raise a lot of money, but you know what she had? She had a lot of volunteers. She had a lot of people that said, I will give of my time to help you try to win this primary race. That speaks volumes. It wasn't that she hired people. People signed up to be on her campaign, which speaks to, you know, her relationships that she has all over the city. Okay. She did not win. She did not pull that off. Mayor Hogsett pulled it off. Let's hear what the mayor has to say. Here we go.
Each and every one of you individually for the work that you've done over the past few months. We'd be here until November. So just once again, collectively, thank you. Still, I do want to single out one person without whom I wouldn't be here tonight, my beautiful wife, Stephanie.
Who doesn't love Stephanie? Everybody loves Stephanie.
6 months ago, many of you came together as I announced that I would seek our party's nomination in hopes of serving a third and final term. My message that evening was simple. While the pandemic may have delayed our plans, we could not afford to deny Indianapolis the progress that it deserves.
That's right. That's right.
Well, friends, tonight, the voters of the Marion County Democratic Party sent a resounding message that we are ready to roll up our sleeves and to work together to ensure our city's brightest days are yet to come.
All right, and that was from the Indy Star. Robin's speech was on her social media page, so folks know where they can find those things. Now, listen, I know some of y'all Democrats are not happy with Mayor Hogsett. I understand. I get it. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate, right? Even when you put your own name on the ballot, you will change your mind. Okay? So, but here's the deal. He's our guy. He's our guy, y'all. Mayor Hogsett is our Democratic guy. Because let me tell you what happens if y'all get all in your feelings about, okay, like Robin said, we got to come together. We got to bring the party together. If some of y'all who were not down with the 18,000 or so of y'all who were not down with Mayor Hogsett and you voted for Robin Shackelford, here is my plea to you to get on board with Mayor Hogsett. Okay? Because bottom line is, if Shreve wins, he is going to be a conduit into our city for the Indiana GOP. Right now, we're holding on to Indianapolis the best we can. We have a supermajority. It's about a 70-30 city. But if we stay home on November 7th, we could have another Bart Peterson situation where he loses his reelection. Okay? And we have a Republican running our city. You see how Republicans run our state. And they're dying to get their tentacles on this cash cow that is Marion County. It's 1 million people in this city. There's over 700,000 tax-paying citizens in this city. We make money and we give money away to welfare counties. Whoever controls Indianapolis controls Indiana. So I need y'all to get on board because it's bigger than Mayor Hogsett. It's bigger than just one candidate. It's 1 million people who want to be governed like humans and not like livestock or people who are owned by other people telling us what we can and we can't do with our body. Literally, the city council in Indianapolis wanted to pass an ordinance saying that we were going to put no turn on red signs at the intersections for safety reasons. You may or may not like it, but guess what? We voted for those folks to be our elected leaders to talk about what's happening in the city. And that's what they do. They write policies. But the State House turned around and said, consolidated cities can't pass ordinances to say that you can turn on red. Now, I don't know if, and Freeman is the guy that introduced this bill. He lives in Indianapolis, so I'm not sure if he's a city county councilor anymore or if he's a senator, state senator. But he's literally writing policy about Marion County. And Shreve, will he push back on making sure that we have local control? Is he going to keep his buddies out of my city? I don't know. I don't feel confident. I don't feel confident that he will. But I know that I stand a better chance of getting some things done with Joe Hogsett at the helm than I will Shreve. All right. A couple other races that I want to talk about real quick around the state. Stephanie Terry down in Vanderburgh County. She is running for mayor of Evansville. She came through her primary. She did not have a primary opponent. That speaks volumes for the sister down there running for mayor. So y'all get on board with that. Find out what you can do to help Stephanie Terry win her election down in Evansville. Also, Senator Eddie Melton beat incumbent Jerome Prince to be mayor of Gary. That's huge for a couple of reasons. One, he beat an incumbent. He obviously didn't like the way the city was being ran. He felt like he could do a better job. He ran, he won. But that also is an opportunity for somebody to take over in that Senate seat. So there's some opportunities there up in Lake County. You guys get your ducks in a row, and hopefully you guys are caucusing somebody amazing like Senator Eddie Melton. Obviously, Mayor Tom Henry won without, sweating much, and that was fine. But I wanted to talk about Bloomington. If you guys remember, I had all three primary candidates who were running for mayor in Bloomington on the show. Carrie Thompson is the one who won that race over Susan Sandberg and Donald Griffin. Everybody ran a great race. All those candidates were amazing candidates. And I am so glad, so glad I didn't have to vote in that race. Oh my God. I was so glad. It was like, it was crazy. It was crazy. One other race that I want to talk about, it's our other Marion County race for Lawrence mayor. My little bro, you know, I love me some Sean Denny. He did not come through as who's moving forward. Deb Whitfield kind of took it to him. So I know Sean Denny will be back out there. To all the candidates who did not win your elections or did not come on top, first of all, go pick up your yard signs. Go get them. Go get your yard signs. I'm tired of seeing them. Go get them. Go get your yard signs. But just remember, don't go anywhere. And let's get behind the winners of the primary race so that we can make some changes in Indiana. All right. It's time to talk about Bohm's Unique Boutique. Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com. All right, and I'm still super duper excited. Also, I want to mention the Winston Terrell Group. They are also a sponsor of the show. The Winston Terrell Group, they do all the consulting work you need for your campaign. I'll make sure I get some new logos up for Winston Terrell. But that's two sponsors we have now. I want you to understand that's two sponsors for Turn Left. We are really, really doing everything we can to bring you that information across the state so that you can share it with your peoples. But also, you need some digital content. Black Pearl Studios is here for you. I'm telling you, I've got audio equipment. I've got video equipment. I can produce your podcast. I can produce your digital content, your 30, 60, 90-second commercial. There's an opportunity for you. And I promise you, I'm going to keep your costs low because you are my down ballot candidates. Y'all not raising $100,000, right? So I'm going to help you create that content you need. It'll be good content and you can share it. All right. That's my rant. Those are my ads. Those are my sponsorships. Now it's time to talk to our guest. You know, I love candidates who, you know, it may not work out the first time, right? You may not get the win the first time, but you don't go away. You realize that you have something to offer to the community, so you stay in the fight. That's what I have to say about my guest tonight, Melissa Rinehart, who is running for City County Council in Fort Wayne District 2. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dana. I'm so envious of your energy.
And you know what? I'm having a down day today, too. And I ain't gonna lie to you. Ooh, girl. Listen, it has been so crazy, trying to get everybody cleaned up in the Act Blue space because there's so many people who ran for office. But I'm happy. I'm extremely, extremely happy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Things are getting fun up here in Fort Wayne. You know, we know who's made it through the primary for our at-large race. And I think we're all just buckling down, preparing for the summer, you know, to start knocking doors and, of course, always raising money.
Yeah.
We're pretty excited. And, of course, we're thrilled that Mayor Tom Henry, as you mentioned, came through the primary without a problem. So super excited about that. And, we're the state Republican Party has their eyes on our municipal races because we have had a Republican majority for almost 30 years. And we are in good standing to flip the seat that I'm in and the 4th district. And not only could we have a Democratic majority come November 7th, we could actually have half a council of 9 being women. So that is super exciting to me.
Yes, that is amazing. Yeah. Hello. I'm going to applaud right? that. That is so dope. And you know what? And what's so crazy is like, one party rule for so long is going to be harmful to a city or to a state, as you can see what's happening to Indiana. Fort Wayne is our second largest city. I don't understand why there's not enough focus on what's going on up in Fort Wayne. When you guys are up just in your community and you're talking about what's happening in Fort Wayne, what is the perception about those of us down here in Indianapolis and what we need to do be honest with us. Share with us what the folks are saying up there.
Well, I wish I knew. We're just such a different city, and it is so, we live in a red state. We all know that to be true. And our community is historically pretty red. And I've always heard that as a reason from the very few who've shared with me, like, why does Indianapolis ignore us? And and I really think it might come down to that. I mean, we're a very successful city in many different kinds of ways, just as Indianapolis, smaller scale, but still sizable. And I think we're overlooked because of the political realities here. Even with having Mayor Henry serving as our Democratic mayor for so many years, we still have a city council. We still have a county council. I think it's all white males at the current time, Republican, all of our county commissioners. So yes, we have that wonderful mayor, and then we've got a lot of Republicans holding offices that are in there for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, so it's an opportunity to outwork them. That's for sure.
It is, and I think of the incumbent that I'm running against. He didn't raise any money, and he hasn't knocked on any doors. He doesn't even have a website that's up to date. And I don't know if it's just maybe he's getting a slow start, given the benefit of the doubt, or maybe he just feels he's a shoo-in. But my district really is about 50-50.
Wow.
And, I'm working it hard, and I'm amassing quite a list of volunteers. Everyone has said, given the history of this particular district, that knocking doors is going to make the biggest difference.
Absolutely.
So we start knocking again this weekend. And won't stop until the end of October.
I love it. And see that I candidates that take their voters for granted are my favorite type of candidates to run against, because when you out hustle them and outwork them, people are going to be like, well, I saw you. I was telling a friend who was running for office, I told him, I said, I have no doubt in my mind that you were like the best person to hold this office. But if you can't run a decent campaign, nobody's going to give you the chance. And so if you outwork him, nobody's going to give him a chance to hold on to a seat that he's not even trying to earn. And I appreciate you putting your name on the ballot.
Well, I hope you're right, Dana.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he probably didn't even think anybody was going to run against him.
And you're right. I think that was the case. Because my Republican friend said, wow, I didn't see this coming. It's like, well, I mean, he ran unopposed 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, no, not again. Not again.
You just said something that I find interesting, kind of oxymoronic in my life. You said my Republican friend.
I did. I have quite a few.
I have a couple. I think I have a couple. I'm working on it. I need them to work on their people, though. So tell the people who you are and where you come from, Melissa.
Sure. I am a Fort Wayne native. I've lived around the country. Always come back to Fort Wayne. It is home. As frustrating as a place it can be politically sometimes, I do love our little corner of Indiana. I'm a cultural anthropologist, so I would venture to say I'm probably the only anthropologist on the ballot, perhaps even in the state. I don't know. I got my terminal degree, taught university for years, and then I work in the nonprofit sector now, helping people where they're at. So I love what I'm doing.
Well, okay, can you go back and tell us what kind of anthropologist is that?
So, okay, originally I was archaeology, which is what everybody knows, right?
Okay, right. Well, they dig up the bones, right?
They did, yeah. But I found out very quickly, digging around, and it was, it's very tedious work. It's hard work, physically hard work, and I really am very social, and I love learning about cultures. And so I studied living cultures. So my expertise, if you will, was Native American. I've done research, worked with, you name it, for 20 some years. So
was there a region of the country that you focused in on, or just all of Native American?
Well, Indiana, the Miami people, which there's still many in Indiana and Oklahoma, in Kansas, but also just in Native communities throughout the Great Lakes. I've done some work and visited many communities, well, throughout the country, actually. So,
Can you, since you have this great expertise, let's talk about something real quick.
okay.
You know, a lot of people, there's mixed reviews on pipelines and things of that nature, right? Every now and then, some big corporation wants to put a pipeline underneath some Native American land, water supply. Can you explain to the people who don't get it why not putting certain pieces of infrastructure under water supplies and what the land actually mean to the Native community? Can you explain the significance of that for folks that don't get it?
I can try, and you know, I'm not Native myself, but I have looked at that quite a bit. It's, you know, they're historical and in many cases prehistoric landscapes. That was how they made their living, right? They lived and worked the land, they hunted, they foraged, you know, their medicine, people migrated, you know, even like northern Indiana, we know prehistorically people were migrating just as they do now when they take the toll road, but they were just doing it on foot. What was the original question? Because now you got me all.
No, it's okay. It was about, you know,
the land.
The land, because, like, I mean, a lot of people first of all, we don't study Native culture naturally in school. Not enough. We learn about European history. Like I was telling somebody, I know more about Greek mythology than I do great Black leaders in America. So I'm just, you know, real talk.
Right.
So I mean, I know it's off subject, but I think it's an
interesting.
interesting.
That's okay. It's one of my passions, and I don't get asked this very often, if at all. So no, I'm happy to entertain it. But the land was everything, and it's still, I mean, the stories, you know, buffalo wallows in northern Indiana, throughout Indiana, because we had buffalo in all of the lower 48 not that long ago.
Right.
And, you know, so these stories, their mythology, their origin stories, everything is connected to the land. And just because there's been a lot of outmarriage in many communities and in migration, I mean, Native peoples live everywhere, in cities, and, you know, that iconic, really stereotypical, you know, Native American remote reservation out west, that's really a small percentage of Native peoples living. And even then they're living in a modern world, right? But those stories to the land is what connects them. And of course, you know, languages are, some communities are really doing a great job revitalizing their languages for those that don't have many speakers or have lost their last speakers. It's all intertwined. So when, you know, an outside for-profit company is wanting to exploit a natural resource that's on, around, or underneath the reservation, you know, and many tribes, I say many, there are some tribes that have agreed to various exploitation of the land, whatever it is, water, mineral rights, pipeline, and they're kind of, it's a tough decision for them to make, because economically these rural communities, there's not a whole lot of job opportunities, right? But this is one way they can generate revenue and keep their community out of poverty. But there are others that hold true to the fact, no, we don't want anything. And, you know, and I have lived out west, and I can tell you the cancer rates, like especially in tribes that are around mining areas, the cancer rates were so high. There was just so much leaching. And I remember, and I was doing archaeology out there at the time, and I remember driving through these old mining towns that had these meters of what all the toxic gases levels were in that community. I know. So, yeah, the land is absolutely everything. But, you know, most of us are really disconnected from that. But, you know, if you go not too far back, Dana, both of our respective histories and our migration stories, everyone has relied on the land at some point in their history. We're just super disconnected.
Well, we need to get back to that. I thank you for explaining that. Like I said, I know it's a little off topic, but that's like, I love hearing what people are passionate about and learning what they, you know, hearing about what they've been doing with their lives. Indiana's own Dana Black, turn left. I am talking to Melissa Rinehart, who is running for Fort Wayne City Council, District 2. And we were just rapping about what she's passionate about, which is Native American culture and studying about that stuff. All right, let's talk about some things. You know, the state houses stopped with trying to letting people have local control, especially here in Indianapolis. And I know as Fort Wayne continues to purple out and turn into a more reasonable city, they will be coming after Fort Wayne as well. Hence why they gerrymandered the heck out of it the way they did for House seats. Talk about your feelings on it when you are elected to city council, how you will help mitigate the attempts at the state to take over and manage to maintain some local control right there in Allen County and in Fort Wayne.
Ooh, that's a really good question, and one I haven't thought of, to be honest. But I think my initial reaction to that, Dana, is I want to talk to voters and see what they want.
Okay.
What their opinion is on it, because this is a really diverse district. We have a lot of affluence at the northern end of the district and pockets of poverty. We've got historic, it's a really not a whole lot of ethnic diversity, unfortunately, but a lot of socioeconomic diversity. And I think a lot of the legislation that could come out will impact the district differently depending on what particular neighborhood, even down to the neighborhood that you live in. I think I'd want to circle back with them and see what they want. If we don't have control over our own local government, and I don't mean me as a person, but that our city can say what the city needs and determine that. And I don't want to get to that point where voter apathy will be sky high.
Yes.
Who's going to want to run if your hands are held every turn when you're trying to make a difference in your community? I can't imagine the public supporting that. But we live in strange times.
We really do. We really do. And if you guys like what Melissa is talking about, please feel free to click her donate link. Her ActBlue link is there. So donate to her campaign because she is going to need some assistance. All right. She's going to need some help to unseat the incumbent. All right. Let's get into it. What are the areas of greatest concerns from your constituents? And go into as much detail as you would like. Because you're out talking to people.
Sure.
What are they concerned with?
Well, it's great question and a fair question, and one I get a lot, actually. So I've lived at both ends of the district, and it's a long, skinny district, and I lived in a upper middle income neighborhood on the north end on a very quiet cul-de-sac. And now I live at the south end of the district on a very noisy street as the sirens go by right now. And I can tell you, I've been involved in the neighborhood associations. I was on the board for the one when I lived out north, and I'm involved with my neighborhood association here in the southern end. And the concerns are the same, whether they're red or they're blue, the concerns are the same. It's we want to feel safe in our homes, in our neighborhoods. We want to have a trash service that's good, because that was a real issue here not too long ago in Fort Wayne. We want our streets paved. And it really doesn't matter who they are. I've found that that's the common thread. And so really the crux of my platform is, and I'm not the only one, a lot of us are, our platforms are based on our neighborhoods. The more engaged our neighborhoods are, the greater success we have for growing and being the very best we can be. And it sounds almost like a cliche, but it's true. I have someone who works for the city of Fort Wayne said, Melissa, our neighborhoods are our greatest and purest form of democracy. And he's so right. I mean, if you don't like what's going on in your neighborhood, go to the association meetings, file a complaint, call the police, call 311, do whatever you need to do. Don't expect someone else to do all this for you. I was talking to a voter the other day, and she asked me, what's your stump? And I said, I don't really have a stump. I said, I can tell you what I'm passionate about. People, I think, feel, and we can see it with voter turnout, the apathy people feel, or they just resign themselves that things aren't going to change. And I think we've just become disenchanted as a community. Oh, I'm going to rely on someone else to figure that out for me. And it's like, well, yes, that's why you want elected leaders to make some of those tougher decisions. But I think people have given up a lot of their power. I really think there's a great opportunity for more public engagement. And the northwest quadrant of Fort Wayne's in Allen County. So the northwest quadrant of Fort Wayne is very affluent, and it's just a little chunk of my district. And the larceny rates are twice as high there than anywhere else in the city.
Interesting.
And when I say that to people, they're like, "You're kidding." And I'm like, no. And it's really as simple as you've got a lot of affluence up there. People leave their possessions in their cars and they don't lock their car doors. I know it sounds silly. It is laughable, but it's like, imagine just what a little bit of education.
And the idea that the crime doesn't travel, like I never.
Well, right. If I was a criminal, I would go where I know I could get the goods, right? Without any obstruction. And so it's, I think that public engagement is really important. Like I attended one of my neighborhood association meetings here, and there was a woman, I don't know, she was probably in her late 60s, early 70s. She hasn't ever, and she admitted, she's like, I've never been civically engaged other than coming to these meetings. And she lives on a portion of my street where she was essentially trying to get a traffic calming initiative in place. She's never done anything like that before. She went to, down to city government, got the form. She got everyone. You only need I think 75% of signatures in your immediate area. She got 100% signature. She just knocked on their doors when she had the time, and she got it instated. She got it approved. And when she, and she was so proud of herself, and she should be. And I actually wrote about that. I included that story in an op-ed I wrote for our newspaper up here because, and she said, I am so proud of myself. I've never done anything like this. And I thought, imagine if every three, voters, if you will, imagine if every third person, every third household did that little bit of extra, how much stronger and more amazing our community would be. She didn't know what she was doing, but she figured it out, and it really didn't take that much time and work.
Absolutely.
And again, relying on politicians, relying on whomever, traffic engineers, people just need to get beyond voting. I mean, that's enough of a hurdle to get people to vote.
Right.
I found out people, my friends didn't even vote in the primary, and I about lost it. I was like, what?
Yeah, but you know what? I talked to a lot of stalwarts who are normally voters who are like, yeah, I wasn't excited. And it's like, I never understand that. Like, how many people are truly, truly excited about getting up and going to a job every Monday morning? They're not excited about it, but they sure do appreciate the results of going to work, which is that paycheck. And the results of voting are voting in people who are going to write good policy. I understand what you're saying. I'm a little, I even knew people who didn't even know there was a primary. And I think that's on us as leaders, right? I think all of us who are in tune and all of us who are about this life, it's up to us to get that out there. The fact that people didn't know that there was a primary is problematic, to say the least.
It really, and I met a friend for coffee last week. I hadn't seen her in person in a long time. And I said, and she lives in my neighborhood. So, and I know she voted or thought she had voted for me. And I said, you did vote in the primary, right? Because she asked how my campaign was going. And she's like, oh no, I was in Mexico. And I was like, but there's early voting, there's absentee. And she looked at me and she's like, well, I guess I didn't really pay attention that we had a primary. I was like,
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we have to find people who excite the base, excite folks and energize them to want to be engaged. I hope I don't have an opinion either way, but I know that Jennifer McCormick is running for governor. And I know some people are excited. I know some people are questioning, when you a Republican. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I'm glad that at least she's out here early enough so that we can vet and we can ask the right questions, and she already has a statewide win on her resume. So now we can start talking about her and whoever else decides to run the primary against her, obviously. But I think the earlier that someone decides to run for statewide race, the better. And it's our job, I think, as leaders to hype her and get her name out there. Just like, we're talking to you tonight about and getting your name out there. I think we just got to do better as Democrats. We just got to do better. right? I don't.
Agreed.
I don't know.
Agreed.
So when you put your plan together to run for city council in Fort Wayne, what were the three main issues that you saw that needed to be addressed and you hope to address under your watch?
Right. I would say the everyday infrastructure, roads, streets. I've never lived on an alley before until I moved to the southern end of this district. I live in a historic neighborhood. Never been on an alley. Our alley is full of humongous potholes. I've never thought of that before. I've never had to. So it's been eye-opening moving to a different part of the city. And that infrastructure, I've got a big light out here on the boulevard in front of my home and the light bulb's out, I never realized how important that was because I guess I just never tuned into it. Living in the suburbs, but it's important here, right? It's a lot more pedestrian, a lot more mobile here.
So do you think it has also to do with how the city allots its resources?
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I had mentioned before the public safety. You asked, what were some of the issues? The one thing that is especially concerning to me, and we're the only city in the state of Indiana that does it this way. We have emergency medical response, our EMS services, is a public utility. And this switched from the fire department basically owning that, if you will, or being in charge of that until the early 1980s. And then it became a public utility where the city backed out. And then, essentially people are taxed to pay for this in part, right? And so it's a really odd, and they've almost gone belly up, and the city council just recently awarded them $3 million to help them out. The short of it is we have a public utility that's had substantial turnover in staff and not enough buses to go out, if you will, and they're not responding. I did a ride along with the Fort Wayne police a couple of weeks ago, and she wasn't a very political woman, but she did say TRA doesn't. It's the Three Rivers Ambulance Authority, so we call it TRA. She's like, it's a guessing game if TRA is going to show up.
Oh.
And she's like, if that's my mom, I want someone to show up.
Exactly.
If that's my child. Right. So the $3 million is to help them out, help to recruit and pay their EMT, their staff better. But at the same time, we still have the fire department responding to all those calls because I was talking to them a week ago. They go to all the calls. So they might respond. TRA may or may not show up. And if it's bordering one of our little suburb towns that has their own volunteer fire, they could be showing up too. Or it could be only Fort Wayne Fire Department. It's a quagmire, and it doesn't have to be this way.
So it sounds like the public safety communication chain is all jacked up.
That's a good way to put it.
I don't even know how else to put it. Like if you're, because everyone should have like a major city like Fort Wayne should have like their 911 emergency people, right? And then they should be dispatching those calls. The fact that people aren't coordinating that is problematic.
Well, what this was off the record, but what was shared with me was that, TRA's alerted through the dispatch. They all are, but that they're so short-handed that they will, I don't know if I should be saying this. This is just what I heard off the record, that they're asking how critical the person is to whether they're going to respond or not.
Holy, what?
Right. Now, I don't have that, I haven't checked that with others.
They're triaging the call before they even see the patient.
Yes. And they can bill Medicaid and Medicare when they transport seniors from nursing homes to hospitals and back. Those are more lucrative runs than going to an accident scene that's maybe not such a bad accident. It's just, I just think we can shore this up. The fire department would just assume, would prefer to assume all of this again as it was up until the late 70s, early 80s, because they're responding anyway.
Exactly.
So,
But that is a knot that needs to be untied. That is
yeah.
because that's going to cost lives if it hasn't
It already
already.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it
there are a
hasn't.
lot of sad stories about that. And so that's something, it's in the paper every 3 or 4 days, I'd say on average, something with TRAS, something with ambulance. But no one politically is really talking about it, which I don't quite understand. I mean, I know that would be a huge assumption for the city to undertake. I mean,
But most cities do take care of their EMS.
I know. And apparently, not only are we the only city in the state of Indiana that does it, there are only 8 other cities in the nation. So 9 total, including Fort Wayne, that do it this way. Everyone else has it with the fire department. Everyone else.
So is
Every
this
community.
like the attempt to like privatize EMS?
I mean, that's what happened. Yeah, essentially.
Well, that I don't know if I like that. I want my EMS to be socialized. I want it to be.
I just know they're going to show up, you know,
Right?
without question.
Oh my God! I mean, wait. Can you pay your invoice? We might show up. That don't make sense. That don't make sense. Wow, that's a big one. All right, what else you got? That's a big one. I mean, EMS. We want the ambulance to show up when you dial 911. But okay.
Yeah. I think I really like this concept, and maybe you've heard this before, this idea of a 15-minute neighborhood. And again, I never had thought about it until I moved to the southern end of the district here. It's this really, and it wouldn't work everywhere, so I'm not proposing that, but this idea of I could walk 15 minutes in any direction from my home and fill my basic and cultural needs, like church, school, hospital, grocery, you name it, my favorite coffee shop, all these different things are within 15-minute walk.
Okay.
And I love that because that's what it was just a generation or so ago in Fort Wayne. And in a lot of communities, right? You had neighborhood grocery stores and people walked to that. They didn't have to get in a car and go to a super center in the suburbs for their groceries and things. They would walk. They were more mobile. They were, and they knew their neighbors. And it's just not like that. Now, I do feel that way in my immediate neighborhood, but I've never felt that way in the suburbs. And again, I'm not foolish. I know that this wouldn't work everywhere, but I think we could have more of it than what we do. It shouldn't just take a historic neighborhood to show that 15-minute neighborhoods really are effective in keeping people together and in keeping their quality of life good. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
Decent.
And people don't even realize that's really what Chicago is. Chicago is just it's got 3 to 5 million people there, but it's a pocket of neighborhoods, right? It's, everything is a neighborhood. And then you go, you over here, you on the south side, north side, west side, and then there's little neighborhoods I love it. I love that you are thinking like that because that also brings, like you said, brings people together. And with a city like Fort Wayne, where you're not massive, but you're not tiny. Right. And it would be, I think that would be a perfect way to have some more community engagement going on just in taking care of the city. You don't have to be political to be engaged, right?
Exactly.
I love that. 15-minute city. All right. What else you got?
Well, and I like, going back to the people being connected and when it comes to public safety, this other cool concept. It's a concept. It's cleaning up your neighborhood or empty lots or alleyways. It's called positive activation, and it gives the perception to anyone passing by that all is well there. And what it does is reduce crime. It doesn't take it away or eliminate it completely. But so in the part of the district I live in, we have some empty lots, and we just did the Great American Cleanup, me and my team, and we're cleaning up the alleys in my neighborhood. The perception that all is well, right? And again, it's not going to deter all of the crime. It's just not, but it certainly helps. And again, maybe it's just a monthly neighborhood cleanup. Maybe it's just you cleaning up your own alley or sidewalks or whatever the case may be. Again, I think people need to take this ownership back of, I'm not going to rely on somebody else or some other entity to take care of my community. I can do my part. in addition to voting, right?
Exactly.
And you don't have to be political to do it, like you said.
Right.
You just don't. But why can't we clean up a vacant lot? Why can't we put a garden in there? Why can't, there's a lot of infill opportunities, and I don't mean just building something. It could be cleaning it up and putting something else in there, like, I don't know, playground equipment or raised garden beds for a community garden project. We have a lot of opportunities in this district, and it feels like people are stuck sometimes.
Yeah.
Stuck in just, this is the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of my job, even with the community work and volunteering I've done for years, is to help people feel that they can unstick themselves.
Yes.
You know?
Well, and see, I was actually going to say, like, I was going to ask you, like, your love of anthropology and your love of human behavior, how I see it, right? You're a scientist. You're a scientist first. But do you think that your love of science, because you brought out real opportunities to do things with real terminology and names to them, right? We got 15-minute neighborhood and positive activation, things that most people I've never heard of, which means that you've been doing your homework. But do you think it's your love of science and your love of humanity that brings you to the political science space?
I guess, you've got a valid, that's a valid point / question. I do value science, but I value people more. You know, and that's what I've said. I think it's time to have more women and have at least this social scientist sitting at the city council table making decisions. I'm not going to just say, show me the data as far as numbers, show me what the people are saying. There's qualitative and quantitative data, right? And they both speak to my heart and to who I am. Do they guide absolutely every decision I make? You know, sometimes you got to go with your feelings too, right? I would prefer to do it the other way if I'm making decisions that impact the entire district, right? When I'm dealing with potentially millions of dollars. But I think, you know, critical thinking, we could probably have a whole show about that.
Lord Jesus, yes.
Like, I just think it's long overdue, whether at the national, state, or local level. And I'm not saying we don't have critical thinkers in office. I just think we need more of that, because I do, like I said early on, I have Republican friends. I've grown up in Fort Wayne. I've lived here for much of my life. I worked here for much of my life. I have to learn how to reach across the aisle, or I'm not going to be successful here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you know, when people are, you know, the partisan factor gets in the way of making decisions for your community, I just think they can do so much better. But people don't want to bend. And that's what I've always been told, that, you know, I can work with very different people, but I think that's because of my love of community. I don't want us all to think alike. And like you said earlier, Dana, there's not the perfect candidate, you know.
No, there's not.
There's not. No one's ever going to align completely with the way you think.
Nope.
But I also think there's value in having different voices at the table. And I think someone who looks at the world like I do, I mean, I left academia. You know, I had a job in the ivory tower. I was about to go up for tenure, and I left.
Wow.
I left because I ended up putting together a humanitarian relief effort for after the big earthquake in Haiti happened in 2012. Oh no, it was 2010. And it really moved my heart. And, you know, I've never been to Haiti. I didn't study Haitians, right? I was working with Native American peoples, teaching anthropology and all that good stuff. But it really, you know, we raised 17 tons of food and water, and it was flown into Port-au-Prince. And that, so like with teaching is extremely valuable. And I come from a line of teachers. My daughter is a brand new kindergarten teacher. And I loved what I did, but I felt like my calling is to do something more, like something different, you know, and have a direct. So that's why I moved back to Fort Wayne. We eventually moved back to Fort Wayne, and I've worked in nonprofits ever since. So I've worked with disadvantaged or taught or researched written about disadvantaged populations my entire career, and I really think that's the thread of who I am. It's my love for humanity, and I don't miss teaching as much as I thought I would, because I still feel like I'm doing it in my daily job.
Yeah, you're always instructing, giving somebody some information, especially as an elected a leader or someone who's considered a political leader. When you run for office, you're considered a political leader. I love that, because I think a lot of people forget why they're running for office. It happens all the time, and I love hearing you say, my mantra is, how does it help us? How does it help us be better? Are you doing the work to improve the lives of the people around you? And that's what I'm hearing from you. It's like, that's what I'm hearing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly how how does this make people's lives better? That's perfectly said. And that's really how I've lived, or at least, I've lived my life, and both professionally and personally. Is this going to make everyone's lives better? My life better, whatever the case may be. So yeah, I was running a nonprofit up until about a year ago, and throughout the pandemic, and we stayed open because we had a food pantry, and we were considered what do you call that? Now I'm blanking.
Essential workers.
Essential. Yeah, we were essential workers, and so I raised a lot of money. And we fed a lot of people who were, especially the working poor, who during the shutdown and terminal layoffs and whatnot, they were 1 or 2 paychecks away from not being able to feed their kids. And we went from being one of the smaller food pantries to the 4th largest in the entire county out of 100 and some food pantries.
Wow.
And they're still very busy. And we mobilized. We took the food to where the people were, because not everyone has transportation.
Right.
And we started going out into where immigrant communities were in rural areas. And oh my gosh, we helped out so many people, and I'm really proud of the work that we did. And that's what I mean. Like, when I had that, I always call it a God wink moment, when I was still teaching and did that Haiti relief effort. It was just like, this is what gets me excited. Not food insecurity doesn't get me excited. It's the fact that I can help them.
Yes.
Where they're at.
Yes,
so.
I love it. I'm feeling all of that, and what I'm hearing more than anything else is that you are a servant. And my girlfriend gets on me all the time. She doesn't like me to call her a politician. I actually call her a reluctant politician, because she's actually an elected official, right? But she's like, no, I'm not a politician. I'm a servant. And what I hear from you is you just want to take the gifts and the skills that you have to help your fellow man. And honestly, I don't even know the other person that's running, but seems to me like you're the right person for the gig.
Oh, thank you. I'll take that endorsement.
That is definitely an endorsement. All right, tell the people where they can find you.
They can find me at melissareinhart.com. Everything you want to know about me and then some. My daughter was a single mom forever. I blow her all up in my social media. Anyone who knows me knows how proud I am of her. Learn more about us and contribute if you can. Even $10 helps. I can buy thank you cards for $10.
Absolutely. So click on that donate link, guys, and tell us about any events that you have coming up, any door knocking opportunities. I know you mentioned that you're starting this weekend. Yes, but tell us what you got going on, or where they can find where you're canvassing.
Well, they could reach out to me. They could just email me at electrinehart@gmail.com, and I can put them in touch with my volunteer coordinator. We're hitting the entire district over the next 4 or 5 months. So we're going to be out all the time. And the goal is to have enough volunteers to go out, like even on evenings I can't go because I've got to be somewhere. Just full throttle.
Yeah.
It's full throttle. So anyone can reach me at electrinehart@gmail.com.
All right. And I suggest everyone do that. Indiana's own Dana Black turned left, talking to Melissa Rinehart, who's running for Fort Wayne City Council District 2. Guys, this is the person that we want to help. We want to help her flip her seat in Fort Wayne so that they can get some more balance in that city. We want to make sure that we have demographic balance. We want to have balance of thought. So make sure you guys find a way to support her. She did not have a primary opponent, so every Democrat, get on the stick and help out Miss Melissa Rinehart, Indiana's own Dana Black turned left. Okay, Guys, I mentioned earlier that I didn't have a show last week because my girlfriend's daughter graduated from college. She's not on social media, so I'm not going to blast her out. But I want to give a shout out to all the single parents out there. All the single parents who had someone walk across the stage over the last couple of weekends. People don't always understand what it is to be a single parent and what it requires. I honestly was raised in a 2-parent household, so I don't even understand the struggle, but I've dated a few single women. I've dated a few single women in my time. And there's a lot of work that goes into being a single parent. So to all the single parents who had someone walk across the stage of a college or university over the last couple of weeks, I tip my hat to you. We know it takes a village, but and listen, 2-parent households, I'm not knocking y'all. But there's 2 of y'all. Just think if you had to do everything that you do with a partner by yourself, and backwards and in heels. I'm just saying. So I wanted to put that out there. And to all the graduates, stay in Indiana. Can you stay? You don't have to leave. We have places for you. We have jobs for you. There's opportunities for you. I need all the smart people to stay in Indiana so that we don't lose you guys in this brain drain, so that we can convince you to run for office at some point or become a part of the civic engagement. We need more intelligent people to get involved. So please consider that. All right, next week, I will not have a show. I am taking a week off, but then I will come back the following week and have another show. And guys, as we get ready for Pride Month, also remember, the HH dinner, the NDEM's HH dinner is June 16th. So if you come in town for the HH dinner on June 16th, stay overnight and come hang out with us at the Stonewall event on June 17th, because we're right downtown. So again, I know y'all like, dang, y'all always asking for money, but unfortunately that's what it takes. If we want to win, if we want to give people an opportunity to compete, we got to raise this money. And I'm here to help any and every Democrat who wants to raise money. So, plus, I work at Act Blue, so we can talk about that digital fundraising platform whenever you're ready. Anyway, all right, this is my favorite time of year. Everybody that I talk to now is an endorsed candidate. I love it, because in primary I can't endorse, but now it's all about mobilizing, energizing, and getting people fired up to help these folks flip seats in November and show up to the polls in November. Let's do the work, those hot summer dog days of summer. Let's get out, knock these doors, make these phone calls, get this call time in so that we can help these candidates. All right, Indiana's own Dana Black. I will holler at y'all next time. Peace.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.